Today's episode is sponsored by Mocha Queen Color Contact Lenses. Don't forget to use my code Wayne for 10% off at checkout. How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Known here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I'm joined here by Ben, also known as Triple Click Photography, who you may remember from the Emerald City convention recap we did a while back. I think it was for the ECC, right?
It was, yes.
I just want to make sure it's been a while since I've had you on. But yes, I'm once again joined by Ben, this time for a solo interview. We're going to be talking about what it's like being a photographer for cosplaying and conventions, and also talk about a little bit what it's like him being a cosplayer as well. So to begin, we'll start with the obvious question first. What made you want to get into photography, and what made you specifically want to do photography for conventions and cosplayers?
Oh man, what made me get into photography is a very long and winding, too long for this interview, path through college where I wasn't good at anything else. So I basically discovered I have one particular special set of skills. I'm very, very good at one thing and am generally considered unemployable by most resume standards. Yeah, I became a photographer through straight out of college. Went to the University of Washington, got an art degree, yay. But what made me want to do cosplay photography is actually not specifically cosplay photography, but the fact that I got into cosplay first and I saw all of these cosplayers around me who had no photos of their extremely expensive and intricate costumes and went, wait a second, there's an opportunity here. Let's do this.
I mean, from what I've seen on your Instagram and the fact that you've been mentioned quite a few times on this channel by some returning guests is like, okay, I got to see what this guy's all about. I mean, I've seen his work; it's good, and it's like I have to have him on.
Thank you. Yeah. So how the kind of the starting of it is am a nerd who's into all things nerd sphere, and I enjoyed going to conventions. I never really dressed up. I had a couple of costumes, but I would call them like Halloween level like detail costumes. Um so I went to Comic-Con and I saw a panel from the 501st, which for those of you listening, if you're not familiar, they're the Star Wars costuming organization. And I went, wait a second, it is way easier to make one of these costumes than I thought. I thought there's absolutely no way. So, a couple $1,000s later and hundreds of hours, and now costumes. Like, I exaggerate for effects a little bit, but yeah, essentially I saw the 501st panel, went, that's super cool, and I joined the 501st. So I have multiple screen
Well,
accurate.
you're not the first 501st member I've had on here. I've had quite a few on this channel.
Yeah, so yeah, I have several screen accurate Star Wars costumes. My wife has some costumes as well, and several more because we see something, go, ooh, that looks fun, and then we start making it, right? That's cosplay. You go, ooh, that looks cool, and then you start making it. Anyway, so in the 501st, because it's screen accurate, people spend way too much
Ooh.
time and effort getting some of these minuscule details.
I mean, not to
So
mention half of them make them themselves.
everything is made themselves. So to give you a slight frame of reference, I don't know how to do like ABS, like injection molding, so I did like get like the kit where it's like, here are all your arm pieces, but it still took me a good 100 hours to go from kit to finished piece. So it's not like it's out of the box ready when you buy a kit. um Granted, I might be slower than most makers, but there's still a lot of work. So people are putting all this time, all this money, all of these effort and resources into something. And like, if you have a Darth Vader, you're like a couple $1,000s in, and it's like 7 layers of detail, and you have to have like detail on things that people don't even see to be screen approved. And then these cosplayers go to a convention and they get photos of their cell phone in like a crowded convention floor, and they're like bad lighting, people are in the background, it's slightly blurry. Like, these are the photos they get. So then I kind of had this thought, wait a second. I'm looking around this convention, and what I see are random people I don't know with cameras who may or may not give me the photos later, and no one else. And so that's when I had the idea, hey, if I could come up with something interesting and creative, I will grab a vendor spot on the floor. So you know you're gonna get something. I'm not random. It is, you don't have to like sign up for an appointment and be like, oh, I'm late for my time slot. It's 30 seconds. You're in,
It's
you're out.
legit too.
Yeah. And it's legit, and it's not, you know, some random person in Freeway Park or wherever. It's someone that you know and can trust, and people can be like, oh yeah, he's right over there. And it's just a nice, cheap, easy way to get fantastic photos. Where I normally charge, you know, a couple $100s an hour, you can get photos starting at like $20.
Not bad. I mean,
So
that's not bad at all because, like you said, there are times where people like are late for photo shoots.
mhm.
Well, you know, like those big group photo shoots or just a solo photo shoot, but like because they're like there's like out and about somewhere, like random spots at the con, but you're like in one specific spot.
Mhm. And by being on the vendor floor, I can bring all my big lights. I can bring back my background. I can assure that there aren't random people in the background of your photo. I can help you with posing. And then with all of the setups I have external monitors, so I can show you your photo on a big screen. I actually have several monitors set up. Wayne, have you seen my booth in person?
I've seen pictures of it, like you know, for
You've seen the
example,
pictures of it. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Bob, you know, I've seen ones you've done with him. I've seen the others you've
Sure.
done. Like you got like different color backdrops.
Yeah, so I have one monitor that is showing photos coming straight out of the camera as I click. So it's like no Photoshop, no anything, and there's a whole crowd of people that generally gather behind me to watch these photos come through. But then the cosplayer can look at all their photos on the screen, the whole selection of them, and be like, yeah, shut up and take my money and buy them all, or be like, ooh, I like that pose, but like, is there any way that we can kind of do that? And there's no way you're getting that on the back of a 2-inch LCD screen
Oh no, I mean,
from.
I think you said it last time when you were on for the ECC recap. You were saying like you do the first one for free, and if they like it, you charge them. I think was
Yeah,
it?
so there's some people that get confused and go, "What is this? I don't understand." And I do not want this to feel like a bait and switch or anything like that. It does cost money. It's not free. But you don't have to buy your photo. I want you to take the photo, and I want you to love it so much that you're like, "Yeah, shut up and take my money." Like that is the only way I want to take people's money. I don't want anyone to be like, "All right, if I have to, here you go. They're okay." No, I want you to love your photo so much you're gonna say shut up and take my money and tell other people to come to my booth too. So yeah, you can go in there, you can do your poses, you can check them out. I have a mirror too, so you can primp and preen beforehand while you're waiting for in line. Yeah, and I want you to just love your photos so much. So part of it is I have all the lights and I have all of the, you know, the background and all of the magic that makes all these cool photos happen. But the other part of it is I don't have like assistants or random people. It's not a photo booth. It is a professional photographer taking your photo. I'm going to help you with posing. I'm going to be like, "Hey, chin down just a touch. All right, bring your arms forward and 3 2 1 flex." And then, you know, you're going to get that great photo just like you would with a professional photographer anywhere else. The difference is, yeah, you have all the quality of a studio and a photo booth. You have the experience of a professional photographer, but because it takes place on the con floor, it takes like a minute or two out of your day.
And
And
you
it's
don't see a whole
way
lot. You
cheaper
don't.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
from what from the cons I've been to, at least, I think I probably only ever seen that once been done at a con, but that was it. I'm sure you know there's a at other cons. There's like they do what you do, but I haven't seen like how you do it. You know.
Yeah, so one thing when I started setting it up is for anyone who's not curious, for anyone who is curious and has not heard of me before, I should actually start there. Hi, Ben Lucas, Triple Click Photo on Instagram. Instagram.com/triple-click-photo. So if you don't know what we're talking about, go look at that first, because otherwise you're gonna have no context for the
Links
rest of this
in
episode.
links
Yeah.
in the description will be below for this.
Absolutely. So one thing that I want to do is, I've seen of like, there is a single light setup, and it just kind of looks blah, okay, like it's a professional light,
We're not bashing any
like it's a big,
photographers who do this
yeah,
at
no.
cons.
No, but the difference is, so here's actually why I made triple click. Okay, if you just set up one light, it looks okay, but it doesn't look the best it can. When I'm doing like a full professional photo shoot with an individual cosplayer, I'm looking at their costume. I'm looking at how their costume looks best in certain lighting. I'm looking at what is the mood that this costume has. If you have a chibi anime character versus you have a Dark Lord of the Sith, these are two very different vibes, and you want to light them appropriately so
Oh, I
that the
mean,
photo emotes
for like the
whatever the
chibi
cosplay
for the
is.
cheap it'll basically like so basically depending on the characters, the cosplay, it's like you said, for the chibi it's all light and bright, and then for like a darker character like Darth Vader or villain or whatever, it's the
Mhm.
lights a little bit more dim to capture the full effect of the
Yeah,
cosplay.
and it's got kind of like this backlit silhouette kind of feel to it, so it feels kind of like dark and foreboding, and very much like, I'm Batman, you know. Got that kind of feel going for it. But so I get to do that on an individual shoot by just moving my light around, but I don't have time to move my light around in the amount of time that it takes. So I wanted to come up with a way that I can take three completely different photos that have three completely different feels and vibes. So the original intent was actually like, if you have a character where either you spend a lot of time and you want to show off all your like intricate detailing or embroidery or something, or if it's just bright and cheery and you just want clean flat lighting, you have a photo that has that clean flat lighting. And then if you're Batman or Dark Lord of the Sith or any other kind of character that's menacing with armor and weapons, then you've got that like
So
backlit, like Daredevil silhouette
like
type thing.
if I can show an example
Yeah.
from like for example
Yep.
like for Darth Vader, I mean for not Darth Vader, but
Stormtrooper there. Yeah.
Stormtrooper, and then like for an example for like a brighter photo would be an example of like Spider-Man.
Yeah, so that's actually look number 3. So look number 3, I wanted something that had a very different lighting feel than the other two, and could be a little bit more on the playful side. And depending on kind of how the pose goes, it could be fun, it could be a little bit
Or like
goofy.
another example,
Yeah, yeah, that's another great example. We've got Crowley and Aziraphale there standing back to back for those of you listening podcast form. Um, so the third one, I wanted to have kind of like Rembrandt lighting. So you've got clean flat, you've got dark brooding, and then you have something, I wouldn't quite call it in the middle. It's its own kind of look and style, but it's something that is different than those other two. So the original intent was, no matter what costume you have, one of these three looks you're gonna love. And then what I've recently kind of been, not recently, but as it's been growing, I've been experimenting with slightly changing my kind of initial vision of what I wanted that to look like, to kind of match something so that everyone likes all of them. Because now people are like, oh my gosh, they're all fantastic, I can't decide. I'm like, great, you get them all. They're all included. That's how that works. So yeah, really, it started with me seeing cosplayers put all of their time and sweat and tears into these amazing costumes and have no photos of them, but then not being able to afford like an hour-long photo shoot. I'm like, okay, well, how can I bring them the photos that they deserve in a price point they can afford? So
and here's
that's
like
how Triple Click was born.
here's an example of your booth.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
I mean,
lights and things going on in
from
there.
looking at a photo of like your of the Xerxes guy, and then seeing like
Oh, he
how
drew a crowd, let me tell
and
you.
then seeing like how
Yeah.
if like I would honestly think like your shoot like on like a very big fancy schmancy like, but the fact that you make something like this look like the photos, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
the backdrop that I use is 5x7. So it
That's
is
like
very, very small. It's only
that's
5 feet
impressive, but
wide.
it looks like a a big backdrop, and then you look at this again. I'm not crapping on this. Like this is impressive. The fact that you turn like something like this into like
Yeah.
you know like this, and if with your permission, if I can show bigger pictures
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like that,
Absolutely.
that's impressive.
Yeah, so that photo is actually a great example of when I was designing the booth. I wanted to make sure that this booth was completely inclusive for everybody. So that cosplayer is actually in a wheelchair, and they build these big elaborate sets around the wheelchair. And so the booth is ADA accessible. If you're in a wheelchair,
Oh, that is good.
you can
That
very
is,
easily like it takes a minute to, because it's a little tight, it's a small space, but you can wheel in, and then it takes me about 30
and the
seconds or
fact that you
something
can
to
be that
change the
you have
light
like three,
levels.
the fact
Yeah.
you have like three people in such a
Yeah.
small, that's impressive. Like again, it doesn't look. Again, the pictures make it look so much bigger than what
Thank you
the
so much.
setup is.
Yeah, the only complaint I've ever had is people are like, "Well, can it get wider, or can I get like full length?" And my answer is, if you want to pay for a full 1 hour photo shoot, I'd be happy to do that. But I've only got 10 feet to work with, because
Not to
that's
mention
how
the.
much vendor booths are.
Oh yeah, no, the bigger the booth, the more it's gonna cost.
Oh yeah. So it does well enough, but yeah, there's
I mean,
not
unless you
anytime
want,
soon I'm gonna get a big 20 by 20. That's not happening.
unless they want to have it done outside where they can show like from head to toe.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, if you want to go outside and get those head to toe photos, those photographers are still roaming the con floor, and I'm friends with many of them, and they're quite good too.
So I mean,
So
and sure, I mean, like, you can recommend them too if they
yeah,
would want
why
like.
not both?
I mean, like again, I don't really see a whole lot of like stuff like that, like boots at a con. I mean, I'm sure again, I'm sure there is. Anyway, I know I didn't ask this the last time when you were on here. What made you come up with the name Triple Click?
Yeah, so I thought about a bunch of different ideas, and I definitely like researched and workshopped it, just kind of like the way any business would. So my main photography page is actually nom creative, as in
Which
nom nom
is
nom
you,
nom nom
which
nom
you'll
nom.
well, I mean, you won't see the name on here.
Yeah. So nom creative, spelled November Oscar Mike. It's the sound the Cookie Monster makes when he's opening the booth door. Nom 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 nom. So nomcreative .com, at nomcreative on literally every social media platform on that there is. I've claimed that name. So that is me the other like 364 days a year when con's not happening. But the problem is, I shoot like 1 or 2 thousand cosplayers in a con weekend, and I do not want to immediately bury all of the other work I do. And I'm like, okay, this has to be its own thing. And so people get 3 different photo setups. But it's not people originally were thinking like, oh, that's really cool. Like, what kind of filter does your like software do to like make this different? I'm like, no, 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 no. This was designed by me. It's not a filter. It's all real. Um, so the camera clicks 3 times, you get 3 different photos. I'm like, oh, triple click. And then like all the other names that I thought of, I Googled it to see if anyone else had taken it yet.
Oh no. You got to make sure. You got to
you
make
gotta
sure the
you gotta
names.
make sure.
Oh
There
yeah,
were one
no.
or two names that I really liked, but someone had already
Oh yeah,
nabbed
no.
them, and there was like a
I
computer repair company and other garbage. I'm like, all right,
I'm all
whatever.
too familiar when it comes to trying to find a name like for this
Yeah.
channel. Like it's
So
just.
so yeah, that's how I came up with the name. You get 3 photos. Triple click photo. It is literally as easy as it can possibly
Hey,
get.
I can't argue with that. Do you remember what the first con was that you did this
I
for?
do actually. So 2017 Jet City in Tacoma was the very first
I've
con
heard
that
of
I
Jet
did.
City. That's
Yeah, they recently changed their name to Grit City. And I believe it's like a 1 day convention now instead of a full weekend. But
that sucks. But I get that.
yeah, I unfortunately can't do it anymore because I generally make all my money back from the vendor booth
Oh yeah,
fee
no.
on the first day. So
One day.
I have done several 1 day events, but they're actually sponsored by the event. So the event is paying me to be there. Otherwise, I couldn't make enough money to pay them to have a vendor booth.
Like you would like have to at least do it 2 or 3 days
Yeah,
just to
indeed.
make your money back.
Indeed, yeah. So that is, I am looking at expanding to more conventions in the near future.
Come down here, man.
Yeah, pre-COVID, I was doing 6 a year. This year I'm only doing 3, but I'm hoping to get all those numbers back up in the near future here. There's some logistics and some things in the work, and I'm working on it to bring a little closer to a con near you, so to speak. Yeah, so I was really trying to just make something really easy, make the name as simple as possible. Yeah, triple click photo, you get 3 photos.
I like that. I mean, again, I've heard a lot. You've been mentioned quite a bit from quite a few people on here, so it's like,
So yeah, and so I have done a lot of like other cosplay photography as non-creative, but triple click photo is now way more popular than non-creative, even though non-creative is where I do 90% of my business. Just triple click photo is the cosplay convention side of that. And it does not exist outside conventions, because like the first time I set it up, it took me like 6.5 hours to set up the photo booth. I've got it down to a svelte 3.
nice.
But takes a while.
What was Jet City like when you first went to do photo when you went to do your booth there?
Oh man. Okay, so all the photos that you're seeing from my Instagram are not what it looked like at Jet City
It was
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
6 years, yeah.
So many years ago. Feels like 10 now. Okay, so I only had a 10 by 10, which now I buy a 20 by 10 vendor booth. So I couldn't get everything to fit, so I actually had to put it diagonally, but all of my lights and reflectors and stuff were cutting off parts of the booth. So I was kind of squished into one corner. My assistant, who was taking money, was squished into another corner, and we had to go out into the center aisle to like walk around and do stuff, and it was a hot mess. And you just saw all these stands and lights and weird things, and you're like, what is this? And I'm like, no one knows. Come inside and find out.
But it sounds like you got it down to a science now.
I do now, yeah. But that first one was an absolute hot mess where people were confused and did not understand. Once I got them inside the booth, they loved it. But that's when I expanded. And after I shot a bunch of those, I printed off a bunch of print samples. So now you can see what you're going to get. I added the external monitor so that you can see other people going through and you're like, oh, nice. I get it. That's
kind of
really
like
cool.
like what you see done like for modeling shoots.
Yeah, absolutely. Where there's an art director off to the side looking at the photos.
I think
that's absolutely what it is.
I think that's. Yeah. I think that I've never. So okay, see, I've never seen that at a con.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just see the person, the photographer with their backdrop and their camera and their lights. Never have I seen one where like they have like a full like on, just like where. Yep. And that's also good for people who are walking by and like, ooh, what's that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the one that I call the sales pitch one. That is just really, really tall. I put it as high as my stand will let me, and it just shows one big photo, and it's whatever the most recent photo is that my camera took.
So kind of like a slideshow.
Yeah, but it's like as I go click, 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 you're seeing them pop up, go pop, pop.
That is
and
pretty cool.
And so people are seeing the constant rotation of images, just one image at a time. And then I have another monitor where I can pull them all up on a single screen so the cosplayer can look at all of the photos that they just did and pick their favorite ones. And then I also have an iPad that the photos pop up on remotely as well. So
jeez, you're just like prepared.
I did not have any of this day one. This was all, I would send out surveys and the cosplayers would tell me what they liked and what they didn't like. And I really took all of that feedback to heart.
Feedback is good because,
yeah,
the more feedback you get, for someone, I can attest to having feedback with this channel. It's like, feedback is not a bad thing. It's like, okay, what from that feedback can I take to make this better?
Yeah, so when people told me the things they didn't like about it, I took that all very seriously and then made more investments into solving those problems. So there's still some random ones of like, well, your line gets kind of random and messy, and I wish there was some kind of like take a ticket so I know who's next in line. But I want everything to be simple, uncomplicated. I don't want people walking off with stuff they're not supposed to walk off with. I don't want and then COVID happened and like having to clean all of these things, and I didn't want to do like raffle tickets because I want to be eco
I
sustainable as
feel like
well.
a ticket system would just get messy.
Yeah, so I didn't want to do the paper tickets because I want to be eco-sustainable as well. And so I thought about all these things and I figured out, wait a second, if I can get more efficient at moving people through the line, then I don't need a ticket system,
Oh
because
no.
then they're not waiting for 10 or 15 minutes for their photo. They don't need to know, when am I up? Am I
Oh
up
yeah, well that,
next?
and you someone could like grab a ticket and the next thing you know, you call that number and they're just like 17, and it's like
And
they're
they're
gone.
gone. Yeah. And the other thing that I didn't want to have happen is people like they're late to their slot and can I fit in now, and now the next person is missing their slot and I had a panel I had to go to and all of that. I'm like, nope, it takes 30 to 60 seconds. Come as you are whenever you're free. I in the past couple of conventions, I don't think anyone's had to wait more than 5 minutes.
That's not bad. I mean, it's kind of, well, I'm not going to compare it to waiting like being in line for celebrity guests because from experience, those things take so
Oh no,
goddamn
people have
long.
told me it's hours for a celebrity guest.
There was a time where me and my sister went to a con and it was for Roger Craig Smith and we were in that for almost 2 hours because
Yeah.
people were bringing buttloads of Batman stuff to get signed. So it's
Yep.
like,
Yep. No, so no wait, no fuss,
I
low
mean,
expense. I just try and make it as easy as possible.
it's the same with the celebrity photo shoot where you're getting your picture with the celebrity. That takes a lot of time too.
It
Because
does, yeah.
you're waiting in line, how many pictures, the money you're gonna have to fork, not to mention the amount of money you're gonna have to fork out just to get like a couple pictures with, a well-known celebrity guest.
Somehow the lines are slower, they're more expensive, and I don't know how many celebrity photos they take in a weekend, but I can run about 2,000 cosplayers through in a con weekend.
Oh yeah, I mean like I
So
mean sure, like in like 3 days. Plus I'm sure there have been times where if a cosplayer couldn't get to you on day one or this day or that day, they'll make sure to try to get to you the next day.
that's true. Although a lot of times people never wear the same costume twice. They're like, it's a 3-day con. Here are my three costumes.
But still, like they still get the chance to get a photo taken in one of
Absolutely.
their
Yep.
cosplays.
Yep.
What's your favorite con that you've been to that you've done photos for?
Oh, my favorite con. I really like Rose City down in Portland.
Ooh.
Here's what I like about Rose City. Rose City is lagging behind Emerald City by about 6 or 7 years when it comes to attendance numbers. That's just
Well, because
they're
ECC has been out for longer.
yeah, they've been out like they're still growing and stuff. But because they have slightly low, it's still a very big convention. I'm busy the whole day. I get to meet new people, but because it's slightly lower numbers, it's not like the high stress of, oh my god, there's so many people, it's so packed, I'm elbow to elbow, I can't get through. People who have big costumes will actually come onto the con floor, because that's another concern. If you have a big costume, you might just hang out in like the lobby or the waiting area because you can't get onto the floor.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen my fair share of that
Yeah.
before.
So there have been a couple of costumes where a handler has been like, okay, this is your triple click photo time. We're getting you to the booth and out, because like otherwise they just like
Oh
can't
no,
survive the
those,
floor.
and I can't
Yeah.
imagine what it's like taking pictures of like cosplayers in this big bulky armor. Like I can't imagine
Mhm.
how they can like fit something so big into a space, that.
Yeah, I think the biggest costume so there are people that have wingspans, and wings are really hard because my photo booth is tall and vertical and wings go wide. So I have them either kind of like bring in the wings a little bit or tilt so that I can get some kind of depth to the photo and see those wings in there.
I
But I
mean,
think
like here's a good example of like a big.
yeah, so that was the SummerCon mascot. So kind of along the lines of that guy, the biggest costume I've ever had, there was Alan. He's a cosplayer and made an R2 Gundam. And it's like 8 feet tall.
Oh,
And yep, that's the one.
That's like this is the first time I've seen someone make an R2 mech suit. I know another cosplayer,
Yeah, so
but like,
when Alan came through in R2 Gundam, that is the like largest, because the gun barrel is actually quite
well,
long
not to mention
too.
like the shoulder, you know.
Yeah, so he's tall, he's wide, he's bulky, he's got extruding things that are knocking into things. You're like, there's no way. That one I will say probably took about 5 minutes on its own, probably 2 minutes, just kind of like carefully sidling him in, a minute for the shoot, then 2 minutes sidling him out. But it drew a huge crowd just to be like, can he do it? Can he fit? And then they saw the photos and they're like, yeah. So honestly, the that one big monitor that the crowd can see, that's also my favorite too,
Oh,
because then people get to cheer along with me.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can't see it, but with your
yeah,
permission, if I could show a
yep,
better picture,
yeah,
like the monitor up top, like right there.
yep. That's the one I'm talking
That
about.
is cool. It reminds me of like what artists do. Like they'll have like a monitor shown of like what they're currently drawing at the con
Yep.
at their booth. That is, I would like to see more of that from photographers, because then it's like people. I feel like people will be more inclined to want to get their photo taken.
Yeah, so the upside to that is that people see the photos and go, "Wow, these are really good. I want to get my photo done." The downside to that is you need to have a computer, a monitor, stand, sandbag so it doesn't fall over and break, and you're not doing that
I mean,
without a permit,
and then
which
here's
means
like
you're
an
you're
example of like a different angle from your.
yeah. So you're not doing all of that out in the lobby. They're not allowing it, type thing.
Oh, I get
So
it.
there's one thing to being mobile. I'm not mobile, but because I'm not mobile, I get to bring all my toys, and some of my toys include these big external monitors. So yeah.
But yeah, you were saying about Rose City, like how it's one of the biggest cons in
Yeah,
Portland.
I like that I'm busy the whole time. I get to meet new people. I get to see all my regulars, which is fun. But it's also small enough that like I get to kind of enjoy the atmosphere. Um, there are some cons that they're so big and they're so chaotic and they're a lot, you know.
Oh, I get it. And plus, with Rose City Comic Con, it's they get a lot of big name guests, so that draws a big crowd,
Mhm.
and that also draws out a lot of cosplayers.
One thing that I really liked KomoriCon when so far I did that in 2019, and then the world fell apart.
The world
But
slightly ended.
I would love to go back to KomoriCon. So one thing that surprised me about KomoriCon, in general, people are spending less. I don't want to say this in a derogatory way, but they're spending less effort on the costume. It's not, I've been working on this costume for months. It's, I thought of this cool idea, I put it together last weekend. So they're not like, oh, I need to get this because this is the thing I did this year. But they're so nice, and they just like, oh, you took a really nice photo of me. That's really nice. And then they're like, hey, you should also get a really nice photo because you look good today. And it's just like, it's that kind of vibe. And like, I didn't know what to expect the first
Oh
time I
yeah, no.
went, but I really liked that.
I can't wait to go to KomoriCon this year. I'm so looking
You'll
forward to it.
Hopefully you'll see me there.
I
We'll
plan
see.
on applying for media coverage so I can
Uh,
cover the whole con.
yeah. So 2020 happened and I got
Mhm.
put back on their wait list because reasons. But yeah, I'd love to go back.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be cool to see you there, man. So this is a question I always ask, and this is probably one of my favorite questions, and you can have a different answer. I call them conventions, horror stories slash weird moments at a con. For you,
Sure.
what's been some of your weirdest slash horror story moments for conventions while doing what you do?
Oh, okay. So there's always people that are just rude. I don't like anyone being rude to other people. When when it comes to D&D terms, I very much consider myself like the paladin of just like, oh no, I will step in and I will stop you from being rude to someone else who's, too quiet to stand up for themselves. I'm like, knock it off.
You're rolling a one on your charisma. It's not working.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not tolerated here. We're not doing that. So there's just instances of that like there's not any specific one I want to get into. There are definitely some that are the more funny ones. Those are kind of the ones that
Oh, okay, so you have funny moments too.
yeah, the funny ones. So there have definitely been some like joke gag cosplays that make me crack up, and I just can't stop laughing at them, which makes it hard to hold the camera still to take a photo
Like
of.
you're just like it's shaking and
Yeah, so
everything.
you probably know Renee. They did a pregnant Pepper Potts, and my booth was right next to
I
the.
don't know them.
Oh, okay. My booth was right next to the beer garden that year, and so it was just beer and chips, and we just it was random. It makes me laugh. Those are fun. There was a guy at ECC who did Mishap, or Mayhem from the Allstate commercials.
Oh, but
Yep, that's the one.
that's really well
That's the
done.
one. People didn't recognize him. They were talking about his wife's cool steampunk regalia, and but I was just laughing at this one. I'm like it's such a great low effort cosplay, and it just it tickles my heart, and I love it so much. I think some of the other horror stories type thing, it's just instances of, oh my gosh, my costume is falling apart as we speak. And that's one of the reasons I encourage people like come early in the day before everything falls apart and you start sweating all your makeup off. Yeah, so I've got rolls of duct tape, or not duct tape, gaff tape, and so I'm like, if something falls off, I can tape you back in. We'll take the photo and you can figure it out later.
Nice.
But yeah, yeah, horror stories. I mean, I try and move past those because some of them just make you feel bad, and unless they're funny, they're not worth retelling, kind of thing,
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
What has been some of your favorite moments then?
Oh, okay. Favorite moments. I have too many to count. Some of my favorite moments, I talked about my booth being completely all inclusive. Some of my favorite moments are actually when parents come through and they're like, hey, my kid's on the spectrum and they wanted to know what this is, but like they don't like the flashing lights. And some of them are in cosplay, some of them are not. Just being able to like talk with those kids and make them feel comfortable and like show them their photo, and they see their photo and they're like, I look so good. So like there was one girl, I think SummerCon last year. She made like her own like custom superhero. She was wearing like a Spider-Gwen kind of
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right
yeah, I
now.
posted that on my Instagram. And she made her own custom superhero, and she was just really excited to be, at a convention and get her photo taken. And she even gave me like one of her comic books that she drew, and just like those kinds of moments, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. One of the other ones that was great, like I might have told this one actually in the last con talk, but I'm gonna tell it again. There was one girl who came through, and her coat was kind of big and puffy, and I said, hey, one sec. I grabbed a clamp from one of my cables. I clamped her jacket back so it would stay in position. We took her photo. She paid, she went on her way. That was it. I didn't think anything of it. But the next day I saw her I posted some of the photos. I finally got around to watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, and she was one of the characters from that. I'm like, oh, I remember her. So I posted all of the Everything Everywhere All at Once cosplayers that I saw come through. And then her comment on that Instagram, like, it legit made me cry. And it was like, I was having a really bad day, and you saved it simply by the kindness of like making me look my best and clamping my jacket in place so that like it looks how it's
Nice.
supposed to look. And it was just like those kind of little moments of just like, I made someone's day better. I'm not like curing cancer or, saving lives or doing any kind of crazy professional whatever. I make people look pretty, but like it changes people's day, and that just makes me happy. Like those are the best stories, when I can have those kind of like one-on-one connection with some kind of cosplayer, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I look like that. I'm like, yes, you do. That's not Photoshop. That's not anything. That's straight off the camera. That's what you look like. Like those are my absolute favorite.
So I've noticed you also got to take some pictures of like really well-known cosplayers. What was it like doing a photo for Allison Tabitha?
Oh yeah, so there's I think 5 different professional
Oh
cosplayers in
yeah.
that same thread.
With your
Al
permission, if I can share them.
Yeah, sure. So Allison Tabitha, it was in. She's like, "Oh my gosh, these are great. Thank you so much." She gave me a hug and out. And like that was it. That was it. But some of the other cause, so she was super busy. She was super in
Well, I mean,
demand. You know,
she's
like that
a
was
she's a she's basically a she is basically a she it's a business for her.
yeah, yeah. And I had like 60 seconds with her. So like cool. It was great. But like some of the other cosplayers I like actually got to talk with. So one of the other ones there, Night Mage. He was just losing his mind. He's like, I love these photos so much. And actually one of my photos is his current
Oh,
profile picture. Yep.
that is like that's really
Yeah.
cool.
So the photo that I took of his Black Adam is his current profile picture on Facebook.
Nice.
And so I got to talk with him. He's just like, these are so good. I'm gonna make sure I come back tomorrow
Ah,
before I have to
I'm
start
looking
talking
at
with
his
people.
I'm looking at his Martian Manhunter too. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. So
It's really like really well. Yeah, I gotta say you do a really good
yeah.
job.
So what I really appreciated of just like the celebrities, right? There are some, they're so busy, they're in demand, they're in, they're out. I get it. I totally get it. Adam Savage was at a con I was at a couple of years ago, and I kept like tweeting people of like, someone tell Adam Savage I need a photo of him. I would love that's on my bucket list. But yeah, just being able to like sit down and talk with them of just like, hey, they're people too. Of
Oh
just
no, they
like,
are.
yeah, it was so cool. And he's like, I get my photo taken all the time, but like these are cool. And I'm like, yay. I love that so much.
Nice. Now, have you been on the receiving end? Have you had your? I've noticed you've had some of your. You've been in cosplay. You've had some of your photos taken where your buddy the elf and what's his name from
Oh yeah. So
Scott Pilgrim.
yeah, so there's Todd Ingram. He's Evil X #3 from Scott Pilgrim. I have a Handsome Jack. I have a Fix It Felix. Um, there's a couple of new ones that I'm working on. I like to call them low effort cosplays, not because they're low effort to make necessarily, but they're low effort to wear,
I
if that
mean,
makes
like for example
sense.
of your Todd Ingram.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it still took effort to make, and my wife did all of that. She's amazing.
Shout out to
But
your
it
wife.
yeah, but it's a t-shirt and jeans. I can wear that all day
I mean,
long
also
without,
like your handsome
having armor
Jack
or anything crazy. Yep.
is it's really well done.
Yeah, that makeup takes about an hour and a half.
What did
And
you use for the metal clips?
yeah, so you can use spirit gum. That worked really well on the ones that don't really articulate, like my temples. But on the chin, spirit gum didn't have a strong enough hold because the chin flexes as you talk.
Oh yeah.
So liquid latex.
Nice. And you said your wife took those photos?
Yeah, whoever was standing at my booth, basically I hand them the camera and be like, you know what to do. Make it look like the other
It's
2,000 photos I've
it's
taken
like
today.
I feel like you also like you do all the photos. I'm sure it's nice to have photos taken of you because I
Yeah.
imagine you don't always get to take a whole lot of photos of
Yeah, and
yourself.
yeah, definitely. And when I'm out and about, I definitely do not get it's kind of that thing of just like when I take a nice, like, oh, we're at a sunset at a park or whatever. If I take a photo of her, her photo looks amazing. And if she takes a photo of me, of just like the exposure might be slightly off or the framing slightly just a little wonky, of just like, my
It's like
photos aren't always
it's like a kid
the
on it's like
best.
a kid on picture day.
Well, yeah, exactly. But one thing that I really love about the photo booth is all the work is done for you. Just point and click. You touch nothing, and will look great.
As I've always said, and I stick by this. An artist, I mean, a photographer is an artist. The person they're taking a picture of is their canvas, and the camera is their paintbrush.
I like it.
It's
I
where
like it.
it's something I've gone by for a long time since I kind of do photography myself, and that's how I always look at it. A photographer is an artist.
Oh, absolutely.
The subject is a canvas, and the camera is their paintbrush.
Yeah, we could absolutely dive down that rabbit hole. I'm happy to. I have a whole podcast where we talk about crap like that. um, but yeah, no. There are some photographers that like because it is debunked now, I'm willing to throw them under the bus. Sears Portrait Studio, whatever the modern equivalent of Sears Portrait Studio is, where anyone who's
Good old
ever worked
family
for one of
photos.
those, yeah, anyone who's ever worked for one of those, they're like, these are the 3 poses you have to do. These are the camera settings you have to use. This is the distance and power your lights have to be.
And this is whatever backdrop you're getting.
There is no creativity. There is no artistry. Your job is to click the button and sell them stuff. Like that, it is very mechanical. It is very dry. It is, here's the process, go forth and do that process. So yeah, one of the things that I really love about this, even though I have pretty much gotten my booth to the point where these are the camera settings, this is where the lights are,
But there's
touch
more.
nothing.
There's more like creativeness.
Yeah, but in the creation of that, I tried to put
You
all
try
of
to
my
keep it still
effort and
simple.
energy and creativity into making that look good. I want to have everything ready to go so that I can be like, hey, assistant, I'm gonna go take a lunch break. I'm so bad at taking breaks at con. If someone's like, hey, can I get my photo? My answer is yes,
Oh,
absolutely, I would love to. And it's like, no, you've been trying to eat that half a hot dog for the last hour now.
there's flies. There's already flies around it.
Eat your lunch. And I'm like, no, but there's more cosplayers who need
Oh no,
photos.
I get that feeling all too well. Like when I do the convention showcase, you're roaming around the floor, wanting to interview this, wanting to show off that, and it's just like, I still need to eat, but there's still more to be done.
There, oh man, there's so much more to be done.
It's like, you know, you
always.
need to take a break, but it's like, but no, go eat
I can
food.
sleep on Monday.
You don't want to pass out. Kind of getting down to the nitty gritty of this.
Yeah.
Some advice you like to share for someone who wants to just get into photography in general.
Ooh, photography in general. Okay. Avoid gas. So gas is an acronym for gear acquisition syndrome. It is buying the newest and shiniest thing, thinking that that will make you better. It will not.
As I put my nice tripod down.
No, see, here's the thing. When people are like, do I need this thing? My answer is, does that thing give you an ability that you don't currently have?
I mean, this comes in handy. I just, put my camera on this. I have the camera that has like the thing you put around your neck. And I just treat this like one of those small tripods, and I'm just carrying this thing around con.
Yeah, and I actually I've got a small monopod. It's still slightly bigger than that one.
I mean, this one goes up to like 6 feet, which is nice.
Yeah, so
but I can understand why yours.
Yeah, when it comes to newbies, they're like, okay, what is the thing I need? What camera will work? Honestly, any camera made in the past like 10 years is gonna be good enough for a beginning photographer. That's just
I hate to use innuendo, but there are those like, well, mine's bigger.
Yeah, there is an amazing clip from the show Veep that I would love to insert right here. It is yes. But do you have a 1D? No, I have a 1D. Okay, are you shooting wildlife? Are you shooting pictures of herons swooping? Are you trying to get, a football touchdown? No, then you don't need a 1D. Like I understand that camera shoots 18 frames a second, but like you don't need that. So piece of advice number 1 for new photographers would be avoid gas. If you have a camera with an interchangeable lens, whether it's DSLR or mirrorless, you pretty much have the capabilities that you need to get started. The next thing that I would say is learn how to use that tool. I mean, so many people. Perfect.
This is a Nikon D3200 I've had since 2017, and it takes great pictures, captures great video. I would love to get an extended lens for longer shots, but
there are some things
it does what it's intended to do.
Indeed. So I would say that there are probably 2 things I'm going to go out on a little bit of leap that camera can't do. And it'd be like, okay, well, if this is something that you keep doing, then maybe you do need a new piece of gear. So like, you said, hey, I can't get close enough to my subject. Well, maybe you do need a longer lens. Or I'm constantly shooting in dark venues that don't allow flash. Okay, well, the ISO performance on the camera might not be up to snuff. Maybe that is an upgrade you do need. I mean, but at that point, You're not necessarily a super big. I consider a beginner photographer like green. I have no idea what I'm doing. Help me out. As soon as you know enough to know what your problem is and how the next piece of gear will solve that problem for you, great. Buy that. Do it. Solve your problem. Good to go. But yeah, piece of advice number one, you don't need new stuff. Piece of advice number two, learn the tool. The tool can do so much more than you think it can. If you know all the ins and outs of your tool, then you can use it to its fullest.
It's like riding a bike for the first time. You're not going to get it right the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then piece of advice number three that I would have is learn lighting. Lighting is honestly the yeah, I know that feels like a cop out, but honestly, lighting makes a photo. Like if you have the I shoot a ton of weddings. I'll give you two perfect examples from a wedding that happen all the time. Okay, a wedding where the ceremony is at noon in open sunlight. They think it's summer, it's beautiful, but then they've got dark raccoon eyes as the sun is beating down on them from straight above, and they're just and they kind of and they're sweaty because it's hot.
Oh, I'm
so their forehead is shiny and their face is black in shadow. And there's only so much I can do
oh no,
in that candid situation.
I'm all too familiar with that. I did a steampunk wedding years ago, and they was during fire season, so the clouds were gray, ash coming down.
Although I love clouds, clouds are my friend when I'm outside.
But they're like during fire season though. It's
yeah, that's not great. Yeah, when the air is thick and it makes you choke up a little, that's not great.
No.
But that is like wedding number one nightmare scenario of just like there's only so much I can do here. Where scenario number two is like just even a canopy, and now that harsh sun is beating down through this big, beautiful, soft, diffused light, and every photo I take under there, perfect. Well, you can find natural situations of that just out and about, of like open shade next to a building that has an awning, or near a window, or all some kind of reflective surface that has an interesting uplight bouncing off some kind of metal grate. Of like, if you know lighting and you can look out for lighting in those situations, then you can find the photo that you're looking for.
I believe it.
Now, if you learn how to use external flash, you don't need to go scouting. You can create the lighting that you're looking for. So by learning lighting and learning how to use it effectively, and then you just a simple speed light and a stand, like all you need. And then you can make amazing photos with one light.
Oh yeah, I mean,
sometimes that light is the sun, right?
And then you got your artificial lighting, which for like
Yeah.
when you go into cons, so like that's why you have to bring your lighting with you just to get the right shot.
The overhead green fluorescence. Yeah, no. So yeah, I even have a video on my YouTube channel that is how to shoot con photography, and this is before I did triple click photo. And basically what it is I darkened the background so my camera sees absolutely nothing, even in a brightly lit floor, and then I just blast flash. So the only thing my camera registers is what I light. So I can shoot a person in the middle of a crowded hallway, and all you get is a perfect silhouetted on black photo of that one
shadows
cosplayer.
of the other people or anything like that.
It's all black. Everything's black except the cosplayer. Like there might be one or two things kind of seeping in a little bit of Photoshop brush. You're good to go. But yeah, if you look at my website, you can see a bunch of examples of that out of the cosplay section too.
By the way, since I forgot to ask, and since I told you about what kind of camera do you use, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, sure. Canon. I've got a fleet of DSLRs. I've got a couple of 5D Mark IIIs, a 5DS for whenever I do client work. I also do product photography. So if I have a client that needs like the giant side of a box or a bus or billboard or any kind of like high detail stuff, I have a big megapixel camera for that.
Nice.
And then all the other, but yeah, I'm very brand agnostic.
You got like a full arsenal.
As I mean, I've been a full-time photographer for oh dear Lord, 12 something years. So yeah.
Nice. And again, it seems to have
I know off. I don't look it, but
oh no.
Yeah.
It seems to have paid off though. Any future cons you're going to this year that so people can look
Yeah,
forward to seeing
so
you?
coming up immediately as after this releases, we have SummerCon right around the corner. Later this fall, we're gonna be at Rose City. And then anyone who wants to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or sign up for the email list, I'll be notifying when we do future cons. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out some logistics so I can
This
go.
will be
My goal is to basically, if it's local, I will be there. Like, I want to hit up everything in kind of the Pacific Northwest convention wise, because there are people that, can't travel or can't go to everyone, and I want them to have this experience too.
um I lost my oh yeah, so this will be up the first Saturday of June.
Yeah. And SummerCon's just right around the corner. End of
So
June.
by the time this is out, people will make sure to. Oh, one more. I forgot to ask.
Oh, please do.
Some of your favorite photos that you've taken for
Ooh.
cons. I forgot to
Okay.
ask. I forgot to ask that one.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, some of my favorite photos. Some of the photos that are the absolute showstoppers that I post on my Instagram,
like the Xerxes one.
like the
Dude,
Xerxes.
that guy is like ripped, and
There.
he looks like Xerxes from 300.
Well, he's a personal trainer,
I believe
so
it.
there's that.
I believe it.
If I recall, I think like his girlfriend or something was like, "Hey, you need to come cosplay," and then so they made up a cosplay that could show off his muscles,
Dude
and
is
then
like freaking.
yeah. So any of the big showstoppers where they're super like ornate and constructed, I really like some of those photos. There's some photos like Zebex, she works for Wizards of the Coast, but she recently became a fan and has been coming through Triple Click, and she had this really cool with all of these kind of like long tendrils and horns and tarantula ooze craziness kind of armor, and it created really interesting dramatic effect of just like some of those would be like, I personally love just like the flow and the composition and everything of that one. I was really excited by that one. There are other photos that I just love the moment that photo was taken. Like most of the kids that I shoot are amazing. Let's see some of my favorite ones. Oh, there's one photo that I did of Rogues Gallery cosplay where they did Daredevil. And so they bought their set, but then I said, "Hey, I want to do an additional one because it's not a pose you picked, but I want it."
Oh,
So I had him, that's the one. I had him turn to the back, kind of look over his
that
shoulder at me, and then I
it looks
did,
like a cover photo for like a movie.
yeah, so I did a little bit of color compositing, kind of merging some of
I
those
love
different
it.
photos together, because I wanted it to look like the TV show version of the poster. So I literally, as I was editing that, I had the poster up on screen number 2, and I was trying to get them to match as closely as
Basically,
possible.
it was like a reference just to get to do a shot for shot almost.
Yeah, so I wanted to do a shot of Aaron from Rogues Gallery, and that one, I love that one. That one turned out great. Billy the Brick, Sinox Studios. He comes through with some fun stuff. Him and Heather. Lady Thor was a great one. That photo of Crawley and Aziraphale is them. Yeah, some of the photos I just love because of just like I have a special attachment to the photo, and some of the photos I love because that looks dope, like the Xerxes and
I
the
gotta say this.
Warcraft armor of
I gotta say that
Zebex, and
the
yeah.
Xerxes is my favorite because I've never seen. I think probably once, but I've never seen anyone do full Xerxes from 300 where they're wearing like the jewelry and just looking so.
Have some muscles and confidence.
I wish I had that kind of confidence. But, oh, this
Don't
is.
we all? Don't we all?
I think that should do it, Ben. Again, man, thank you for coming on. Hoping to see you potentially at KomoriCon this year, and can't wait to see the next photos you're gonna be doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Again, to everyone out there, so if you loved all of the Triple Click stuff and convention and want to know where you can get these photos, links down in the thingy. Triple Click Photo, the website is tripleclick.photo. And then where I am literally everywhere else is non-creative. So you're gonna see some cosplay stuff, but those are like more independent shoots. I get to like either in studio or go out in the wild.
Is
You
natural habitat.
yeah, you see that there's pets and family and weddings and all other kinds of things behind me. I do all of that on that other page as well, if anyone's
Well,
interested.
that having that stuff in the background really will let people know like what you do, so that's a good thing. I like when people can show off their stuff too on these
Yeah.
interviews. Again, and you already answered my question about promoting yourself. You did that twice, so I don't have to ask you. So thank you. I appreciate that. Again, Ben, thank you. And as always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for watching.